Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Victoria Skirbo from the Seeds of Transformation, and I'm here with our favorite customer service rep from Chicago, Ona. Hi, Ona.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for
It
asking.
was gorgeous, beautiful, and a summer day, right?
I know a little warm for me. I'm not a good warm weather person, even though I was born in the middle of the summer
Mm-mm.
or the height of the summer. But yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
excited for fall, really.
I can't tolerate summer like I used to. I definitely have a shorter bandwidth for just tolerating it. Just
Yes.
I can't, like, I will go off much quicker
Yeah.
when it's like really irritatingly hot. So it must be because of the dogs. They don't like the heat either. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting like this weird little stretch of hot days. And then it'll be like, I'll have to bring all the plants in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to apologize for the, you can see the hole in my ceiling. I had the issue with the air conditioning condensation dripping onto the drywall.
Right.
And they sliced a big old hole in there. So we have identified the problem. Now we need to find people to get this thing patched up. So I have a call into somebody who doesn't even speak English. I'm ready to like throw a bunch of bananas up there and get a bunch of monkeys that like climb up there and patch it up. It's a high ceiling and nobody wants to attack it
Right.
unless they're tearing down the whole house.
Right. Right. Yeah, those little things. It's very hard to find people to fix the little things. It's a real cottage business if you know how to fix things. I don't know why there's not more of those like borrow my husband kind of fix it things. So yeah.
Yeah.
So today I thought we could it's been 20 years since 9/11, and I thought it might be interesting to just share some thoughts and some just like did you have any premonitions? Did you um, before it happened, and how things shifted for you after it happened? And
I
then maybe look
Yeah,
at the chart real quick and see if we can discern anything
yeah,
from that.
yeah.
Does that
I
sound
didn't.
fun?
I did not have any premonitions. I didn't, I really wasn't in tune. I know I was not working that day. And my ex-husband, who, I was married to at that time, did have a premonition dream. His two front teeth imploded. And teeth dreams are like about death. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. He went to take a shower and I went to get coffee and the whole thing started. By the time I ran upstairs and said, Bob, he turned the TV on again and there was a TV in the bathroom and we watched the second plane go in. He went to work because he just couldn't process anything. Nothing. But we were all on call. We all knew we would have to be on call if, that was just part of what we signed up to do.
Yeah.
And if anybody needed anything even if we weren't working, we had to make ourselves available.
Right. Right. And you were nursing at that time, and
Mhm.
was it a regular hospital kind of situation, or?
I was working at that time in psych in recovery. So it wasn't really, really busy right away, but it was like a shelter, you know,
Mhm.
it was like a shelter. So honestly, the mental health stuff didn't happen until afterwards, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was there an uptick after this?
Afterwards. Well, remember when before that time when we heard breaking news, it was this alarm and you like ran to the TV. And then after 9/11, they're like, la 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 la, it's breaking news because that was a trigger. It panicked. It threw you into this PTSD mode. So they changed it. They changed it because that vibration, right, would startle you.
Right. Right.
Every time you hear a breaking news thing, you like ran thinking a horrible sentinel event happened again. So they changed that whole thing. We got used to being in the whole, we had a code system, color code system.
I remember that.
Every day we would have, it's a code yellow day, or it's a yellow alert or green alert. And it had different levels of escalation. And you just memorized it. You knew today was a level orange or a level yellow, and what was happening in the hospital, pretty much.
I remember it being orange for a long time.
Was it orange for a long time?
I just remember that. I don't know if it was, but in my consciousness, it was orange for a long time. So, I mean, you live outside of Chicago, and so a big city. So I would have to think that, New York was getting attacked, and then we found out about the Pentagon being attacked. And I think all large cities were feeling, that it was that they could be next, right?
Oh yeah, very, very vulnerable. Everything shut down. Everything shut down. There was no traffic. There was no planes flying. There was no access to get anywhere except where you were, right? And I lived in a neighborhood that everybody took care of each other. We all grew stuff in the garden. Everybody was okay in our field, right? Our field became small,
Right.
again, like this, right?
I grew up in the shadow of the World Trade Center. I grew up in New Jersey, right across the Hudson River from New York City. In fact, I could sit on my toilet, if you don't mind me saying, and see the Twin Towers. So it was, well, of course, they were erected in, I think, 72, 73. Interestingly enough, they have their Saturn is in Gemini. Interestingly enough, the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And Saturn was in Gemini when they fell. So they were actually having their Saturn return at 9/11, right? Like right around that. So, that's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I moved to Massachusetts in 1990. I think it was 1990. So I had been in Massachusetts for 11 years when the Trade Center was hit, but I had many friends who worked either in the Trade Center or around the Trade Center. I had a cousin who worked in the Wall Street area. He worked for, I think at the time, Merrill Lynch. But his first job in New York was for Cantor Fitzgerald, which was the investment. I think their investment. They were on the top floor, and the guy who owned that had to bring his son to kindergarten or something, so he didn't go in when he was usually there. But almost everybody who worked there was of course killed. And my cousin, who was friends with many of those people, actually had just retired. He was young. He was like 40 something, retiring. I guess when you work on Wall Street, you can retire early. So I didn't have to worry about him, but a lot of people I know were around it and affected by it. I had patients who had PTSD from it, who were working down in that area. But my parents, my mother and father, still lived in Jersey City. And I called them right away because you didn't know what was happening. And I talked to my mother and I'm like, Mom, can you see the towers burning? And she was staying with her sister at the time. And where my aunt lived, if you walked out on the street and looked down the street, you'd see the Twin Towers. I mean, and they were big. From her perspective, they looked big, just like for whatever reason, because of the angle that she was there. And my mother said, yeah, I could see them burning. And I was scared because I didn't know, like, all my family, my friends, they all lived around that area, and it was pretty scary. So I remember there being, you were just like sort of waiting and wondering what was going on. But about 2 weeks before that, I had a dream that I couldn't get out of my head. I remember, I think I had it on the 31st, the 30th or the 31st of August. And I said to my husband, Michael, at the time, I said, Michael, I got this dream in my head. I can't, it just keeps, I can't get it out. And he goes, well, write it down. So at the time I was really good about journaling before I got into computers. Now, if I journal on the computer. It's not the same thing. And so I had a dream that I was standing on land, and in front of there was a body of water, and then there was another strip of land, and then there was water behind that. So it was almost like a spit of, like a sandbar kind of situation. But if you stand in Jersey City and you look to the east, you have Manhattan, and then behind Manhattan is water, and then there's the East River, I think, and then you have Brooklyn and Queens and behind that. So it was that setup, and I was looking from above, and I saw this giant wave, like it felt like there was a giant like tidal wave, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I said, people, this is terrible, people died. And I remember looking down and seeing like all these cars and different, like, all scattered, and it looked like there was sand on them, like there had been like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God, somebody died, this is terrible. And I remember sort of waking up with a fright, and I'm like, that's really weird. But at one point I remember like scanning after that, this tidal wave, which is what it looked like to me, it was a tidal wave. I scanned the horizon, and there were buildings, 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 and then there were no buildings, and there were these like things sticking up,
Mhm.
like these, like almost look like pieces of buildings, but like
Yeah.
wood, I guess, because in my head it was like a beach or something. And then so a couple of days after that, there's a very famous picture of the remains of the tower where
Yeah.
the thing is sticking up,
I
and it's
see
all
it. Yep.
right. And I was like, oh my God, I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I saw.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So I had a premonition of the event, but of course there was no place to put it in
Mhm.
my head. I couldn't have said, oh, there's going to be planes coming to the world. Who knew, right? Who thought of that? But I did, and I don't get a lot of premonitions. I got a premonition for that, and I got a dream about the tidal wave from the tsunami that hit Indonesia. What was that, 2004?
Wow.
At the end of 2004. I had dreamt of that as well, years before it happened. And the reason that I know that that's what it was because in my dream, I said, oh my God, my father is dead. And my father wasn't dead when I dreamt of it. But by the time it happened, my father had passed. So, yeah, and I just recently had another little bit of a premonition dream. And so far, I'm not sure if it actually happened, but I don't get them very often. So it was a big deal. But I do remember this feeling of euphoria after it happened, which is really weird. And I remember hearing, they'll never be as powerful as they are at this moment. Like that was it. That was the pinnacle of whoever was responsible, whatever it was about, that was going to be the pinnacle of their power. And they were going to start to go
Yeah.
in the opposite direction. So I'm not exactly sure what that meant either, but I remember thinking that or hearing that in my head.
Yeah.
But it was the other thing I said, I turned to my husband and I said, Michael, I said, we have to get our stuff together. I said, because we have work to do. It was like a spiritual, like now the work begins. To a certain extent, 9/11 was a little bit of it was a wake-up call for many reasons, but I
Yeah.
think for spiritual people or people who maybe didn't even know they were spiritual
Yeah.
or on a spiritual journey, that was sort of like, all right, guys, let's get the army of light together. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it felt like to me. And
It did. I wasn't that into like reading the tarot and stuff like that. When I was married, I really shut a lot of this down. I really shut a lot of this down. Reiki, I was doing a lot of, maybe some palm reading, a little tarot, but not so much where I was outspoken about it. So I held it back a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of premonition dreams. But there were certain things when things came up and they repeated themselves, like you said, well, it's like, no, you have to say something.
Right.
You have to say something or it won't go away until you say something.
Right. Write it down, say it, whatever you have to do, note it in
Mhm.
in a notebook, and then you'll have it. So when people say, "Oh yeah, sure you did," you're like, "No, look here."
Yeah. That's the only way I really communicate with people is sort of by, taking pictures, writing it down and saying what's happening around them.
Right. Right. So, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like it was for me? It was definitely moving me in a direction that I had been sort of. I was at the time. I had a practice. I may still have a practice, but it's now I'm sort of semi-retired. But back then, I was like, being the chiropractor. I had already been practicing for like 11 years, and I had a business in an office, and so my whole like reason for getting up in the morning was sort of that, and then and after 9/11 it started to shift into more metaphysical things. I started
Yeah.
to do a little bit more. I've always been like, ever since as soon as I got out of chiropractic college, I said, okay, I read all the chemistry and the biology and the
Mhm. Oh,
physiology and the
yeah, right.
x-ray and the diagnosis and all that. It's like, okay, I got that. Now I'm
Mhm.
going to open the books.
You froze. I have a frozen screen. I think I have internet. I mean, it seems like it's doing okay. Let's see.
Iona. My big fat foot pulled my thing out of the side of my computer. As I was saying, I don't remember. I'm like, oh
I don't
no.
remember either. I honestly don't remember. I'm like, well, I'll come back in and see what
She'll come
happens.
back. I think she'll come back. Owen is very she knows about my computer issues.
We all
So,
have them.
right, don't we all have
Oh
them?
my gosh, every day. See, and that's one of those things that something that creates a panic. Every day I think, oh, is this going to be the day? Because it's only a year old, so it's pretty much obsolete, right?
Right.
Right? Because right, I come down here and think, okay, this is the day it's got like stuff happens to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's unfortunate, but perhaps true. So yeah, so I sort of that the whole 9/11 thing in its way shifted me bigly.
Mhm,
Um, was that was that something for
mhm.
you think, or
Oh, yeah.
I mean you certainly had other stuff going on in your life
Mhm.
after that really shifted you into what you do now. So
Yeah. but yeah, I think I definitely had more, it was before my daughter was born, because she was born in 2004. So I can't remember that for, honestly, I would love to sit here with Bob and he would be able to tell me exactly what happened
Right.
at that time. But I think, yeah, I think there was more volunteering. There was more wanting to be independent, for sure.
Yeah.
After that, more wanting to express myself because you were unsure of what, of the future. I think so.
Yeah, it was a real, I think growing up when we grew up, even though we, you know, you were born in the middle of the Vietnam War, I was born just previous to that. So there was always this like, but everything seemed to happen far away. Like any
Mhm.
problem seemed to happen far away. And 9/11 really brought it home in a way. And it's interesting that you talk about your daughter being born after 2001. There's a definite difference in the children born pre and post. I have a couple of people in my husband's family, brothers and sisters, born before and after, and the ones born before 9/11 are much calmer. They're much there's it's as if
Mhm.
that sense of at any moment, like it could all be over kind of energy came in after 9/11, and those kids I think really struggle. And I've actually even seen, and this is not, I don't do a lot of children, but I have friends who have children, so that's how I kind of evaluate this. There seems to be, my cat's going to come up and want to be part of the fun here,
Oh,
Charlie. um they have a lot of issues. The children seem to have a lot of they have a lot of what seems to me like PTSD, really.
mhm.
And some of them were
Yeah.
too young. Like my girlfriend's daughter, who has I think she has a personality, she has a little bit of a personality disorder.
Mhm.
She was born like I think 2 days after 9/11, on the 13th
Yeah.
or a week after 9/11. And her brother, who was born in 1999, which is just like, a year, 2 years before, has a totally different energy. He's very calm. He's very sort of
Mhm.
like that. And she's like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so there's
I can
definite,
I can sympathize with that. Absolutely. There is that. And I think maybe it is the way that we sort of felt like, you got to grab it now because you don't know what's going to be there tomorrow. Nobody owes you anything, little girl. You got to go out there and fight for yourself. You can't depend on anybody because you don't know when it's going to get wiped away.
right.
And she's like, okay, how do I, turn on the microwave?
Right.
It's too much for me.
So I thought maybe we could, if you'd be interested, maybe we could take a look at the
Yeah,
chart. Do you think that would be
yeah.
of interest? Okay. And of course, I have to just do a little magic here because in my pulling the power cord out with my foot, uh, I actually have to pull up my stuff again here. I had it all ready, of course. So let's see what we have. All right.
Charlie, he's so funny. Since
He's
when now Pearl has been super verbal in the last day. I know we're supposed to get a storm.
he has been not only super verbal but super clingy. I mean, I have never quite seen him
Huh?
as clingy as he's been. And I keep thinking to myself, is something going to happen to me? You know how they say, animals hang around you when when something's going to happen. But
They
he's
do.
he's just been very, very, and every night he has to lay on my chest
Mhm.
over my heart, and then he does it to my husband. So he's like an appendage these days. All right, let me I can't talk and
Oh,
I can't do two things at once, as you know, Ona. So let me just see if I can find the event. Here we go.
okay, Charlie
All
cat.
right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on. Here we go. Share screen. So this is the chart of the beginning. This is when, was it the South Tower that was hit first or the North Tower? Do you remember? I don't remember.
I don't
That would be,
remember which
that's
one.
that would be an interesting, like, because north, south, right?
Oh, yeah.
This symbology there, right?
Okay.
So this is the chart for the first plane hitting the towers. And I mean, I can say a lot about this. The interesting thing about 9/11 is that 9/11 was also the day that the United States went into, was it Argentina? Was it Chile or Argentina? I should know this. I feel terrible not knowing this. Was it Pinochet? Do you remember when we went in to one of the South American countries? It was like around 1970, 72 or something like that.
No, I don't.
And we it was a duly elected, and we put in a I think it was Argentina. We messed with Argentina's election, and we put in a dictator, and there was all the disappearances, the people who had disappeared from that. Do you remember hearing about that? Well, anyway, that was a 9/11 thing too, but it was interesting that it was a 9/11 thing that we did to another country, right? So 9/11, and it's interesting that 9/11 or 911 is 911 emergency. What is your emergency, right? So there's that energy of 9/11. And
Yeah,
the
that
other,
synchronicity, they did that on purpose on that day for that day, you know, that whole thing, emergency 911. I think it was planned that way to be, 911.
I know it's just we have these dates, right? That kind of repeat themselves within our history.
Mhm.
So the 9/11, the vibration for that was a 5, right? It was 9 plus 11 is a 20, and 2001 was a 3, so it was a 23/5, which is
That's the King of Wands,
it
right?
is the King of Wands.
Yeah.
Yep. So and it's in the Tree of Life. It's located in the Sephiroth associated with Uranus, which of course is the Great Awakener. So it was definitely a wake-up call numerologically. So we have this chart here, and we have the sun in Virgo in that 12th house of hidden enemies. Interestingly, it's the whole chart is ruled by Venus because it's got a
She's opposing Uranus.
where is she? where yeah,
She's hanging out in Leo's den.
she's in Leo, right? Yes, opposed by Uranus, right?
Yeah.
And we have Mercury on the ascendant in Libra. That also goes back to Venus. And the 11th house is the house of friends, interestingly enough.
Mhm.
The house of friendship. And we have Mars in the conjunct the south node. So when I see that, it seems to me like aggression from the
In
past.
Capricorn, right?
Yeah,
It's in
Capricorn.
Capricorn. And that's ruled by Saturn. Saturn's the structure. But so what house would that be in?
What's that?
The land, your land, that part.
The fourth house is real estate.
Maybe the fourth house, right? And that's Neptune.
Yeah, Neptune there. In Aquarius. This is really interesting. One of the things, I mean, you can take a chart, right, and look at it, and this would be an event chart. But let's take a look at how it affects the United States, like its relationship to the United States chart.
Yeah.
I think that'll be interesting. So let me do that. I'm gonna just hold on one second. Okay. So this is the chart for the United States. This is the Sibley chart, right, with the Sag rising. And then this is 9/11. And this is, I think, the most instructive thing about not the 9/11
Yeah.
chart in terms of affecting the United States. Do you yourself see anything that you might want to comment on here?
Well, Neptune on the south node,
Exactly.
and
Yes.
the sun on Neptune.
Yes.
Eris on Lilith. Where's
Yep.
Capricorn? What's Capricorn doing? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we have this, right, we have the south node in Capricorn, but here's Ceres.
Yeah.
You know, we love, in our class was like, what's Ceres doing? Ceres always seems to be active in these situations. Of course, Ceres is on Eris, the United States Eris, right? But we have the north node on the United States Jupiter, the north node on the United States Venus, right? So Venus seems very prominent, interestingly enough, in the 9/11 chart, right? And also the fact that the north node is sitting on Venus in the United States chart.
Yeah.
Jupiter is transiting the house of open enemies, right? So that's interesting. But of course, the most profound thing is probably this right here, Pluto
Yeah.
going over the ascendant opposite Saturn. Saturn in the house of open enemies. So when we have a Pluto-Saturn opposition, we're usually at war. The last Pluto-Saturn opposition occurred in the 60s during the Vietnam era. You have it in your chart. And Michael, my husband, has it in his chart. He was born, you're born 60. Can I say when you were born? Is that bad? Okay. Yeah, some people don't want to know. You were born in 65, right? So was Michael. And so you guys have that opposition in your chart.
And Uranus is right in the middle of that opposition. I'm pointing to it like you can see what I'm doing here. Uranus is right in the middle of that opposition. Really? And it's in Gemini.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Pluto goes over the ascendant of any chart, whether it's a country or a person, it's a transformation of your identity. And so, of course, we've been trying to figure out who we are ever since. You know, I think it was the first time, perhaps, that we had a sense that maybe something we had done in the past was coming back to bite us in the butt. And of course, when the south node is activated in the chart, that is true. Right now, we have Saturn there activating the south node. And so we have all of this, or in Aquarius, right? All of this coming out that we see now. It's like we're back to.
No, the south node is in Sag right now.
No, but
in this chart.
Saturn at this time where we stand right now, Saturn is at about 8 degrees, I think, of Aquarius. Okay. So right now, we also have the south node of the United States being activated. And so the past comes back, right? The past comes back. But Neptune, of course, is that energy of, we don't really know, like you can't really figure it out. Neptune is so hard to figure out. And today, in fact, we have a Neptune Sun opposition. Interestingly enough, that we would be doing this on that day as well. So Neptune is very, very prominent. And of course, Neptune is mass consciousness as well. It's the energy of mass consciousness and just the consciousness of the masses. So when it's activated, it really sort of brings up all of that energy. So yeah, so this was, and we also have Mercury sitting on Saturn. And Saturn in the chart of the United States, well, the 10th house in a country chart is the person in charge, is the president. So it's a house of the president. So having Mercury on Saturn, which is, the person who's in charge here, is very interesting, a very interesting connection.
Mercury is ruled by Gemini too.
Yes,
In Libra, also a 2. That's twin towers.
that's right.
That's
That's
2
right.
squared.
And the twin towers were having its Saturn return. And they didn't survive its Saturn return.
No, not this one.
No. So, you know, very, you know, I mean, symbolically, could we call it the end of duality? Or symbolically, could we call it the beginning? You know, because we moved from, numerologically, we're in the 1900s, which is a 1 vibration. 1 and 9 is 1. And then we moved into a 2. And so when we moved into that 2, a whole different level of activation, all that binary stuff, right? So we talk about binary and non-binary, and everything is zeros and ones, and we're becoming digitized. Everything is becoming digitized. I saw a thing on, I think it was Trevor Noah, that there were schools in New Jersey that wanted to bring back cursive writing, and he was making fun of it. But I think, yes, we definitely need cursive writing, because all this digitalization in its way programs us to think in black and white. And there's no, you know, it sort of takes away that creativity of
People don't know how to work with their hands.
Which is a Gemini thing. Gemini rules the hands.
That's right. And people, they don't know how to work with their hands. They don't know how to do things. They need to get their hands in the dirt, right?
That's right.
And do stuff. And cursive writing is the same thing. It's like, it's just motor coordination and putting the neurons and the motor coordination together. We're losing it.
One of the other things, and then I know that you have there's a time constraint here, so I won't keep you much longer. But I did do a solar return for the 9/11. Let me see if I can pull that up, because that's interesting. Here we go. Okay, so here's the solar return for 9/11, because it is the 20th anniversary, so it's significant in that. And of course, 20 over 20, the vibration of 20, right, is the judgment card, the awakener, the great awakener, also associated with Pluto, right? That card is associated with the planet Pluto. And of course, we're in the middle of our Pluto return as a country, so that's interesting. So this is the solar return here, and we can see we have Neptune opposite the sun, which is exact today, actually. But this is an awareness. Oppositions are about awareness. And I think after 20 years in Afghanistan, things are coming to light that we weren't aware of. Even the whole story of the Taliban and all of that stuff, and not to get on that, you know, that sort of, because we could, you know, really go. And then maybe this wouldn't be able to be monetized for whatever reason. But we have the moon opposite Uranus here. That's another sort of awakening. And the moon in a chart, in a mundane chart, is people, and it's in Scorpio.
Yeah.
So this is about digging deep, right? This is digging deep. So I feel as though, like, this chart, we might even see some more exposure as to things around the 9/11 incident. They opened some more stuff, right, on the connection to Saudi Arabia. And we can't forget, I think, that Saudi Arabia is a theocracy, and is a puritanical theocracy who is very anti-woman. So the 2 vibration, right, we moved into the 2000s, is the high priestess. So as soon as we moved into the 2 vibration, we went from the magician energy to the high priestess energy, which is the energy of the feminine. The 2010s, right, is the energy of the goddess. It's a 3 vibration, and the 2020s is the emperor, is the 4, which is the emperor.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And then, of course, let's see, 2020s, and then the 2030s will be the what's next?
Hierophant.
The
Hierophant.
Hierophant. The Hierophant. So I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just thought this might be a fun exercise to do.
Yeah.
Do you,
Love
let me
it.
ask you this before we go.
Mhm.
Do you have any sense about not kinesthesia, sorry,
This is,
synesthesia when you look at this, or
no, no, I don't, but I do feel like we're gonna have another tornado.
there's something, yeah, you feel
It's-
like there's something else coming?
Yeah, and I can maybe post in the community page or something, but I smell it, and it's super windy outside. But I smell that chemical smell again, like that nail polish remover thing, the smell.
Acetone?
Yeah, it's like it's a chemical smell. And there's a body shop across the street. And I did this last time. I went across the street to see if it was them because they do body work.
Right.
And they exhaust paint. And it's real windy today, so I'm gonna double check, but I think we're gonna get a bad rain.
Well, I did have that, oops, my cat just knocked over my tarot cards with his tail. I did have that dream, right? So let me tell you about the last dream I had.
Yeah.
You don't drive a light blue minivan, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so just check it. So in this dream, I was looking out a window, and it felt like it was like by the water, and it felt very like Cape Cod-y, like shingle style, that kind of thing. And maybe I was even at a lighthouse that had that kind of feel about it. And I looked out, it was a beautiful day. And then I got distracted. And when I turned around, there was this like fog, but it looked like rain. Just, you know how when it rains really hard, but it rains sideways?
Mhm.
It was like that. It was like, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I looked down again, like I did in that other dream. I looked down and I saw a minivan that it looked like it had been in an accident, that it had sometime, it was like all like messed up. And on the roof of the minivan, it was a light blue minivan. There was this area that looked like the engine had
Wow.
been on fire. So it's possible, now that I think about it, that it could be, and I don't like to say this, but I'll say it because it's one of those dreams that has been sort of
Yes.
in my head, maybe like a car bomb.
Oh, totally. When did you have this dream?
The weekend of August 21st. That weekend.
And
I
it
was
looked
at
like,
I was at my birth mother's house, and we were celebrating my sister's life because she had passed 3 years previous to that. And she was born on 9/11, my sister.
okay. So that might be something that,
You want to pull some cards on it?
and I'm smelling that weird, so I'm sure if I have the 8 of Pentacles. So this somebody is maybe making something. When you say car bomb, yeah. This could be something that to look out for. That's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Saturn, right? 8, that's when you had that dream. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we said it, so we'll see what happens. Just
Yeah.
I think that
Oh,
might be
yeah.
what we have to be concerned about. Because we're talking about the 18th, right? October, this thing with they're going to do something, but I don't think they're going to do anything at the Capitol. But
But, and you pulled all the right cards for that thing too this morning when the collaborative with Marianne was, it's giving it energy and it's making us panic. And the more energy we give it, the more, we're aware of it and we're alert, the less likely that there's going to be an event. God knows, we don't need another one of those.
Well, I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, I think a lot of these events are really wake up calls anyway.
Yeah.
It-
Well,
it's-
Mars went into Taurus. That was January 6th. And today it's moving into Libra. So when I start to like go
yes.
back and forth with Mars and try and figure out is he fun? Is he a dick? I don't know. I think, what would Mars and Leo be?
He's definitely a dick, but maybe not a different. Well, anyway, go ahead. That's what the little things
things that would mess up the internet, the airwaves, right? The things that balance the communication back and forth, that kind of thing. So I think
what's interesting about what you just said is that, Mars went into Taurus, right? But then that is a Venus ruled sign, and now Mars is going into Libra, which is also a Venus ruled sign. And Venus right now is in Scorpio.
And she don't like it, right?
Well, she's definitely not going to take any shit. Let's put it that way, right? I had one of my teachers said Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio is the only Venus that would kill for love, which of course is not true, because I'm sure people kill for love all the time. They don't have Venus in Scorpio, but she will. And I have a friend who has, a good friend of mine, my maid of honor, who has Venus in Scorpio conjunct Saturn, and she's born in 54. And she said to me once, she said, if anyone hurts my child, I'd kill them. And I knew she would. I knew she said, I wouldn't care if I'd have to go to jail. I probably shouldn't say this out online, but she was really, and I was taken aback, but I was like, yes, you would. Yes, you would.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been noticing some Venus and Scorpio stuff the past couple of days, and I've been sort of like that too, and noticing it. I have to say, really, it's so interesting to be able to understand those energies and give it life, like be able to say, you know what? Oh my gosh, it's so cool. It's so cool.
Well, my dear, this has been fun. I'd like to do this again if you're interested. And if anybody, wants us to, like, if there's a theme or something that people are interested in, that we could, utilize as maybe even just a starting point, I think that would be fun. But I always enjoy spending time with you, Ona. And I'm going to see you tonight, right?
Yep.
In class. All right. Awesome. All right, guys. Well,
this so pretty.
Huh?
I might not look so pretty. I might look a little messy later on.
That's okay. No one but us will see it.
Awesome.
All right, honey. Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I will put I'll put Ona's in the descriptor how you can get a hold of Ona. How do they get a hold of you, Ona?
On my channel, there is a way you can find my email address if you're not a robot, but I don't like to display a lot because I like,
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. And if there's anybody in the Chicago area who can fix that hole for Ona.
Hey, anybody, do you know any contractor that likes to do light jobs? I'll order a pizza. The State Farm is basically already paid for it. It's not like you have to, lots of fun. We'll have, like, the dog will love you. Anybody wants to do it.
I'm almost tempted to come and fix it, even though I don't know how. But my husband does, so we would have to come together, I guess. But
and you need scaffolding.
Oh, scaffolding. Yeah, see, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's a high ceiling. That's the only thing. Nobody likes that.
I know my husband doesn't like getting on a ladder that high. Well, good luck with that. And if not, put a piece of art up there until you can find somebody, right? But then you'd have to get somebody to put it up there. So that's an interest. That would be interesting as well.
Yeah.
Unless you did something with I don't know. Anyway,
I might be able to.
a little pulley or something. I don't know what I'm talking.
And like that alien tape that I could stick. I have, I might just put like a piece of leather up there or something that, no, I can't get up there. That's ridiculous. I'll hurt myself.
No hurting yourself, not allowed.
No, it's gonna look like that later.
All right, honey, you take care. And
Love
goodbye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
This
Love
has been a
you.
blast.